2019, and you're listening to Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I'll assume that worked.
To never be heard, seen from again. Remember, this is what we wanted. Remember, this is what we said. To never be heard, seen from again.
Hello, and welcome to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I am your host, Chris Quinn, coming to you this beautiful Valentine's Day evening. I had nothing better to do. Sadly, that is accurate.
Yeah, why are you here, dude?
Well, it's something called a long-term relationship with two young children where we really don't have a chance to do anything any day anyway, so...
Wait, Chris? Really?
Yeah. Well, I mean, my wife's not going to listen to this, so she won't be upset. But, I mean, what I promised her that I would, we'd have a romantic Valentine's Day breakfast tomorrow after the kids are gone.
So, Chris, to do this show today, I had to promise my wife that I would take her to play pinball.
Ooh.
And I did.
Ooh.
Over the new Marscade.
Oh.
Yeah, it was very dope.
See, you're showing me accurately, and I appreciate it because that's what a nice person should do for another person is what I should be doing, which is being more thoughtful and nice to my lovely wife. So,
well, I'm not sure that's necessarily true, but I wasn't necessarily thoughtful. I took her over to a place where I work and said, "You should hang out here for a little bit."
I got to do some work. Hang in there.
Exactly.
Right. So maybe I'll do that. Like, you know what? You need a drink, Margaret.
Yeah.
I know a great place where you could.
Well, happy Valentine's Day, Margaret.
Yeah.
And Shanna.
Yeah.
And
Humana.
thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So there's three of us here at the lovely Studio B here in the Co-Prosperity Sphere. I want to thank everyone who made it out into the studio today.
Which is not very much of us.
No, it's producer Jamie and Sir William Charles Moore. We're already getting off script, which is fine. There are a lot of shows that, there aren't as many shows as there used to be that I am legitimately interested in. And
wait a minute. What?
That I'm legitimately interested in how they're going to go. Like what the heck's going to happen? That's what I meant. Not like that. It came out wrong.
We literally have 100 shows on Lumpen Radio.
170, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I meant my show. Of the episodes I do. Sorry.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that.
Yes.
Because it is offensive to me as the station manager.
Yeah.
Here on Valentine's Day.
Right.
I'm working in her show.
You're right. And for me I didn't mean to crap all over everything here.
Well,
That's
I
not
appreciate
true.
that, Chris.
Yeah, I was not doing that.
Also, I would crap all over your basketball team, but they won last night.
They did.
So congratulations.
Thank you. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
They've really pulled it together. I was working and did not get to watch it. So here's why I'm legitimately interested about this particular episode, because I have no idea which way it could go. And here is why. I know I've complained about, I'm so tired before, but here's the deal. I got 3.5 hours sleep, then I had to wake up, take my kid to school, then I got about 90-minute nap in, which in my mind, I was like, okay, 5 hours sleep, not the best, not the worst, but 5 hours over 3.5 and then being awake and then an hour and a half, it's not the same as 5 straight hours. So I'm feeling very weird. I literally had to go to a meeting today that I go to all the time. It's on the road, the same road as the building that I work in, and I got onto the street and just drove the wrong direction. So that's kind of where I'm at right now. And so on top of being oddly fuzzy and even more so for me and exhausted, we have one guest. So Yeah, who's wheezing into the mic? Is that you, producer?
No, it's not me.
Oh, okay. That must be Will wheezing into the mic. So we have, for the first time ever, one. Is that really you, Will? Negative. That's not you. That's got to be. Who is that?
It has to be.
Really?
Yeah.
Everyone, be quiet. All right.
There's a ghost.
Yeah, there's a ghost wheezing into the mic. Anyway, so we have one guest. It's Sir William Charles Moore. So let's just make this whole thing unconventional. I'm not going to say my monologue. I'm not going to do any of that. I will
thank
say,
God.
yeah, I'll say thank you to everyone who is listening in any form. If you like the show, leave us a review or send us an email. I even called it an email. You know what? Even that's going to be different. It's not. I'm going to call them emails. I'm going to call them what they are.
If you want to send us something during the show, Jamie@lumpenradio.com.
There you go. Insiders at craftbeertemple.com if you want to send us a general email. And so Sir William Charles Moore of the Spiteful Brewing Company, thank you for coming out on this Valentine's Day evening. And yeah, I think we're just going to. I specifically set up topics that, because I was also late in getting that stuff out, that are, and I think I called it this way, Will. I said they're less fact based and the hot take ability of these topics is through the roof. So yeah. That's got to be you, Jamie.
It's not.
Turn off your mic for a moment.
It is.
But you're talking into it. I hear you. It's not off. He's lying. Now he's just lying. Okay. Anyway. There's an old wheezing man on the mic. No,
I wish it was, but my mic is off.
Yeah.
Because I am an old man.
Yeah.
And I do wheeze.
And I do wheeze.
However, the mic is off.
Yeah. I am an old man, and I do wheeze.
It is pretty pathetic. I agree.
Anyway.
No, actually what it is that I have the headphones jacked. Because you guys tend to talk very loudly on this show.
Yeah.
And I felt for 2 hours that I didn't really want to hear Chris talk super loud.
Yeah. It's working. The mic is further away from my
Yes.
mouth as it ever has.
Thank
so.
you.
Yeah.
It's super wonderful.
Yeah.
So, no, there is no actual wheeze. What you're hearing is the ambient noise of the room.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right, good.
And
All
also me preparing to play a lot.
And also me wheezing. No.
And also a lot of dark metal.
Yes.
being
Oh,
prepared.
great. Good.
Yeah.
So anyway, Will, why don't thanks for coming on. What's new with you? We got a lot of sweet hot take material ready to go.
Great.
Yeah. Can you turn mic? Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
Say
what's
it again.
going on here?
Come on. Enjoy. Yeah. Come on.
You know, he's on 2.
Is that too? Say something.
2.
There you
Yeah,
are.
there we
Yeah.
go.
All right. So see, this is what interests me because I'm already seeing how this is going, and it's careening off the rails in a
totally careening off the rails.
a flaming pile of metal just careening.
It wouldn't be
down.
the first time that it's careened
good.
off the rails.
Yeah.
Let's
No, it's
let's
definitely
just
good.
take it straight to the bottom.
Yeah,
Here
man.
we go.
Yeah.
We've got the power of Malort coffee within
true.
us. So we're
We have coffee?
We have Malort coffee.
Yeah.
Oh, where's that?
Well, it's in our bellies now.
That's right. We took down the Malort
Oh,
coffee.
you SOBs.
Yeah.
That's how I would describe us.
Yeah.
We could next time. I'll bring some more if we still have some. So what's new with you, dude?
Not much. Just normal, regular stuff. I just do all.
That's not very interesting radio, dude.
Yeah.
That's terrifying radio.
Normal stuff.
So, can you tell us how Cal, one of your employees, is screwing
Friend
up?
of the show.
Yeah, screwing up. Tell us about how Cal is a mess.
I mean, it's just every way you can imagine. No, he's Cal's doing great out there. He is selling the beer. That's what the Cals do.
Well, I've heard he has dropped certain appendages from his body in terms of public situations. That's what he told me yesterday.
he dropped an appendage from his body, like an arm.
More of a lower.
Interesting.
Jamie's in rare form talking about things
Yeah.
that Cal's doing.
Yeah, more of a rare kind of lower appendage.
Huh. And was this in a particular context or?
It was in a public context, yes.
Oh, okay. Well, that's unusual.
Just totally blowing up
It was,
Cal's
it was
spot.
twice.
Totally blowing up Cal's spot.
It was good.
Interesting. That's funny.
So, here's what we're doing. Let's get right into it. Since nothing is new with you, nothing is exciting in your life, and it's Valentine's Day. I'm exhausted. I have a single guest. I have a wheezing producer who is just off the rails, outing other people in the industry.
It's not very fair, dude.
for just trying to do their job with whatever appendage they want to have in or out or anywhere.
Also not very fair.
So let's get right into it. Are there any beers that you've had lately that you are excited to try? No. Yeah. Your mic's off again, I suppose. I don't know why. Yeah.
Are you? Yeah. Well, okay. Never mind.
He's saying no, it's not, and then turning it on. I'm watching. It's like he doesn't. We can't. He thinks we can't see him doing what he's doing.
Everything is under
definitely
control.
not.
We are definitely professionals here. No problem at all. I'll tell you, I did have this super whales from England that was a wild Perry saison-ish thing. Remember?
Yes.
Delicious.
Yeah,
Very good.
from Tom Oliver.
Yeah, that was a winner. And then other than that, I'm trying to stick to the flagship February stuff. And
Oh, is that a thing? Flagship February?
I mean, evidently this is something that somebody wanted to start. I feel like that everyone nowadays you need to have a month or a day to like eat pizza or have a burger or something.
Right, or
and
you
it
grow
seems a
a-
little ridiculous.
November's when you grow a mustache.
Uh,
January's when you are dry. February's when you
That is just a terrible idea. I mean, my estimation is, if you want to stop drinking, just stop drinking. You don't need to have a. This is like, oh well, we're just gonna have Lent randomly just because we can pretend like this rhymes. Because I don't feel like it's constrained to any particular month. Like maybe you're doing sober October, dry January, whatever. It's fine. It rhymes. It doesn't make any sense. What are you doing? Be an adult. If you don't want to drink, just
Shh,
don't.
It's cool. It rhymes. It's cool. Shh, just chill.
Well, the point with Flagship February is to recognize all of the beers that got us here in terms of craft beer. So if I have an opportunity to drink something like, an Anchor Steam or Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, I'm going to take that because I feel like those are really important beers, and that's really what I prefer to drink anyways. So I had an Allagash White yesterday, always an exemplar of the style.
So I was
Fantastic.
talking about this with Strong Mike. We were talking about classic, like truly iconic beers that have stood the test of time and are kind of exemplars still to this day that are, flagships, like true flagships, so year-round, and see enough distribution to have kind of some cred. What would you put in that category? I think there's a couple that are super quick and easy, and I'll just let you kind of rattle them off. There's not that many.
For sure, Allagash White. I
Yeah.
mean, not only is that the beer that made that brewery, it is for sure. It's the best, probably the best widely available wit beer on the continent, and it is
Maybe the world.
Yeah, it's very, very good. So certainly that's it. If you look up wit beer, Allagash White is what you see in the.
Could you pass that along to Mr. Moore?
Yeah.
Thank you.
What am I supposed to do with this?
Well, can I ask
Put
you
beer
a
in
question though? Is that the best wit beer though?
I've had some
Arguably.
other wit
Really?
beers that I prefer to
Arguably.
Allagash White. They have a good case. They have a very good case.
Because see, I used to love Celis White.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That is a good one.
Celis White was, I thought, better than Allagash.
I mean, it comes down to
And
personal
I'm the producer,
preference.
by the way. I'm not
Yeah,
a beer
yeah.
guy, but
No, it's Celis White's a great beer. It's Celis White's awesome. It comes down to personal preference. It's definitely world class. It's one. So the World Beer Cup is the largest international beer competition, and it goes very much by style guidelines. It's held every other year, and Allagash White has won gold multiple times there. So I think any beer that's won multiple times can make a claim, and is certainly a world class. So it's definitely arguably the best, but it's going to come down to preference. I think Blanche de Brassai is really nice, but it's much, much lighter. It's way lighter than Allagash. So, there's great ones out there, but that's one of them.
I think Isaac is probably my favorite from Valladolid. That is just fire. So good.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's kind of a maybe a little bit. Is there any sort of wild fermentation or anything like that going on with Isaac?
It's definitely got a little higher acidity than typical, but I don't know if it's. I don't know that it's wild.
It's also like $1 gajillion
it
per
is
milliliter.
I think that's why I like it. Because it's
and it comes in a fancy tiny little bottle, and
that's right, with a weird shape. But that is a great wit beer.
Yeah, it is. So all right, we have Allagash White. What else?
Well, let's think through. I probably give a shout out to Odell. I mean, they have 90 shilling is excellent.
But that's not. Is that their flagship?
Yeah, for sure. That's the beer that built the company, and now I think probably are leaning a little harder on their IPA. But that to me really defined Scottish ale for, I think, especially that region. You don't see it. It didn't really have an impact, I think, in the East, but
I mean, there's the biggest one in the country. I think is being left off, which is
Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is definitely the beer that invented, like, it made craft beer.
Yeah, but I put Anchor Steam there too as like
for sure.
That is what a California Common is judged against. It built the brewery.
They don't even have to call it a California Common because they own, that's
it
theirs.
was a steam beer before California
right.
Common existed, and then they had to find a different name for it because they trademarked steam beer.
Well, certainly all of those. I would say
thank
that
you for shouting out Odell. I thought Odell was amazing.
They're great. They're
thank you.
They're my favorite. Back when I lived in Colorado, they were my favorite brewery there, and I
love them.
They're fantastic.
Their
I
IPA
appreciate
is
you.
fire.
No, seriously, I appreciate you shouting them out because I think a lot of people discount them.
Yeah, and they're
They're very balanced.
Yep, and they're the second oldest brewery in the state. They've been in operations for a long time. I think probably Stone. Is it their IPA or is it Arrogant Bastard that we would consider their flagship? Because I've never been a huge fan of Arrogant Bastard. Stone IPA is excellent.
Yep, they changed it though.
Yeah, well, this is, I guess, what the new thing. So it's hard to really quantify. I would say
it's hard to say that Stone IPA now exemplifies it. I don't know. I'd maybe give you a little pushback
for West
on
Coast.
That. Maybe West Coast. Yeah,
I think it's
right.
I think it's dead center of like West Coast IPA.
Yeah.
And then I actually probably Boston Beer Company. I think that just their flagship Boston Lager. It really defined kind of the American interpretation of Vienna Lager.
It's a good one.
And I think that it's actually relatively drinkable, and obviously I don't even know what they're doing. Like, they probably make primarily juice and soda.
Let me throw a couple out to you and see if you can yay or nay them. I'm not saying how I feel about them, but there's a couple that I think are potentials.
Let's hear it.
Because I think it's a very short list. Left Hand Milk Stout.
I would give that a yay. That's definitely. I mean,
it's close.
Yeah.
It definitely exemplifies what that kind of craft milk stout thing is. What about New Glarus Spotted Cow?
Now, I thought about that one. I've never been a huge fan of Spotted Cow, but people absolutely love that beer. So there's
built the brewery.
Yeah, well, without a doubt,
is without a doubt their flagship.
But
distribution's tiny.
The question, this is the reason why I had issues with Spotted Cow. It's like, what is that? Is it a farmhouse
cream ale?
Ale?
I'd say it's a cream ale.
It's just a very strange entity. So I don't see it as necessarily being, because it doesn't have that gold standard, like this is this style in the best possible expression. That's why I would keep them out. But other than that, yeah, for sure, Spotted Cow is up in that range. So
now, how about this one? How about Alaskan Smoked Porter?
I love that. That's great.
But that I'm not saying do you like the beer.
No, but
would
I
you put
think
it
it's a
in
really-
that category?
For sure. I mean, for smoked porter, that's the one, right?
It more or less invented that style of beer.
Sure. So, I mean, why? How?
I think I was looking it up. It might be the most awarded beer of all time in combining GABF and World Beer Cup, the two big. It's been in there. They've entered it for 30 straight years. It's medaled 28 times.
That is absurd. But it is kind of a weird category.
Right.
I guess it was-
It's also insane that a smoked porter is their flagship. That is their flagship beer.
Those are visionaries.
That's their year round. That's what they built that brewery on.
I wonder how many of those
insane.
Ray Daniels awarded, because I know that he was judging Rauch beer for a long time.
Probably many of
Yeah.
them. Yeah.
Just every time I came across it, it would just be like, these are all terrible, and that one is Alaskan smoked porter.
Because I do odd, like really kind of sad things when I'm just like thinking by myself about craft beer. Instead of like what's the hot
Really, Chris?
Yeah.
You do sad things. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So instead of thinking like what's the hot new adjunct that's going to be in all the pastry stouts this next year.
Shortening.
Right. There you go.
Oh, it's-
problem solved. The head is gonna look great.
It's gonna be nice and slick on top, nice and slick and smooth, and just right.
It's gonna look like pond scum.
Yeah.
I was thinking about, what are the 10, greatest, or great meaning not maybe most delicious, but most important or whatever you want to call that, craft beers in American history. And I think there's an argument that you could put of all beers, Alaskan smoked porter on that list.
I don't disagree with that at all, and I think that's
All right, so
certainly-
since we're just going to go off the rails anyway, let's put together the 10. You can also chip in, Jamie.
Well,
I
thank
have veto power, so
But
I have
can
final say. I'm the host.
But Chris, can I also?
Yeah.
Your beard, by the way, is looking very nice.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Can I also play some underwriting real quick?
You may.
Yeah, thank you.
Welcome back to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I'm your host, Chris Quinn, and I am joined by my sole guest, SOUL, Sir William Charles Moore, as well as, I gotta make myself laugh if nobody else, because nobody else ever. I don't make it. I'm also joined by, let's just call it what it is, an unhinged Jamie Trecker, producer Jamie. Yeah, but let's get down to it. I'm still laughing at the.
Yeah, I'm a funny guy, dude.
Yeah,
I'm kind of a funny. I'm funny.
yes. Oh,
Chris,
yeah,
do you
very
think I'm
funny.
a clown?
Yeah,
A
I
clown?
do. I do think you're a clown. You're a clown. You amuse me. So, the greatest American craft beers of all time, 10 of them. You got a little notepad there, Will. Let's name them. Hold on. We got something. Jamie left at. You're on 3. There you go.
Can you hear me now? Okay.
Thanks, Jamie. Jamie gets up, leaves with your mic muted.
Well, we just switched mics because that was where the confusion was coming from, and he turned mine off. That's a champ move. We're all.
And then and then gets up and walks away.
It was for
That
winners.
was
No
amazing.
doubt.
That was awesome. Okay, the 10 greatest. Welcome back, Jamie. Nothing happened while you were gone. The 10 greatest American craft beers of all time.
You know, I have the dump button on our remote.
Oh, good. What's up? So go, Will.
Well,
Come on. I mean, what's going on
This
here?
was a particular exercise. So I think that we were looking for a flagship beer that defined the style, right? I mean, 'cause
Yeah.
we could.
No, you're taking off. Will, stop.
What is even happening?
Stop. Okay, go.
Right, but okay. So those flagships that defined the style that they occupy, and really were that's what we're looking at. So I have a list. I think that these probably 6 beers for sure are should be in the list, which is Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, Left Hand Milk Stout. I would say Boston Lager, Allagash White, Anchor Steam, Alaskan Smoked Porter. Those 6, I would say.
Those are 6. So go through them again one more time. Just read right down the list.
Sierra Nevada, Left Hand, Boston, Allagash, Anchor, Alaskan.
Okay. That's a lot. So let's add to it, then we might have to pull some of these back, right?
Fair enough.
So I think you got to put Pliny on there.
Yeah, Pliny's a good one.
Because this isn't like epic flagships I'm
Is
talking
it-
about. I'm just talking about the greatest
is it-
American craft beers.
Okay, well, I mean, but is that their flagship?
This doesn't have to be flagships. These are just the greatest American craft beers of all time.
Number
This
one
is
is Sierra Nevada Pale Ale. Like that's
Okay.
it is the most important beer
Yeah.
that has it changed.
All right. So let's put Pliny down. Well, let's
I like Pliny.
Yeah.
We're good with that.
What BCS I think has to go on there. I think it
I
has
think that's
to,
fair.
man. I think it
think
has
that's
to.
fair.
So we
Now,
also
wait 1 second. BCS, please tell your
Bourbon
radio
County
listen-
brand stout from
Thank
Goose
you.
Island Brewing
Thank
Company.
you.
Yes, Bourbon County. But you're right, Jamie. We should probably specify that. So
Please do.
yeah. All right. Now, how about do you think Dark Lord goes on that list?
No,
No.
compared to I mean, I think I've had probably half a dozen different Dark Lords.
Hear me out. Hear me out. So I'm looking at it more along the lines of
Wait, did you just cut your guest off? That he said Dark Lord was a no, and you're going to override him?
no. I said hear me out.
Yeah, I'm letting him
But
counter
but
argument.
you
here.
should obviously say why Dark Lord is not there.
Dark Lord doesn't taste good.
Right. So, which is a fine assessment of it. But what I'm going to say is that beer started the brewery special release thing that has really dominated the own premise game, the special release thing. I mean, Dark Lord Day, for those of you who may not know, started out as just, it was another one of their, so Three Floyds had monthly seasonals. Every month they had a seasonal, a bomber. And Dark Lord was just their, what was it, their April seasonal, right? And it sold out so quick that people started lining up before the brew pub opened. And I heard rumors that it used to actually make it out into distro like all the other ones. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. And the lines started getting longer and longer and longer. And then because people were getting in line and still missing out, so they'd be waiting in line so long that they started a bottle share while they were in line. And I mean, I remember going to Dark Lord when it wasn't a fest. It was a line, and it wrapped like all the way around, all over the place in that industrial park, and you just waited and then had a bottle share because you had nothing else to do. And then they kind of, to their credit, embraced that and made it into a festival. That's why you still are allowed to bring in bottles from outside, which is unheard of for beer festivals nowadays, because it's part of what they did. So that is why I will say, and I'm not, that's why I'm posing, that's why I'm just saying maybe it's worthy of consideration, because I think there's some cultural elements that beer directly brought on. That's why I'm saying it's one of the greatest, not saying the best tasting, I'm saying one of the most important in terms of greatest that way.
All right, well, can I interject here real quick?
Why not? You have the controls.
Thank you, I do. It is actually illegal to bring in certain beers in this state into a bottle share. If somebody has a liquor license, you can't bring in off-premise beers into an on-premise shop.
True. But this is they have a festival, and it's in Indiana, and they get exceptions, I guess.
Right. Well, they can't get exceptions to that anymore. They were told not to do that.
Oh, that's a shame. So we'll see. Maybe that's ended.
So I'm just saying, from a legal point of view, your point about people bringing in bottles, no, people can't do that unless it is a private event. In terms of the taxation in the state.
Well,
of
it is a
Illinois.
private event. It's a private
Well,
event.
it's not.
And it's not in Illinois either.
It's a public
in
event.
Indiana.
It's a public event in Indiana. People come from other states.
Don't they have to
come
buy
in.
tickets?
Yeah, it's a
Right.
private
It's a
event,
ticketed.
bro.
No, it's not. It's a ticketed event. That's a public event. That's my point. It's a public event. You buy tickets to the general public. It's what's called a public event. If it is a private event, if it's something that's happening with you, me, and somebody else here, sure, you can do that, but not a ticketed public event.
Well, then they've been breaking the law, and part of it, but they have been doing it. I mean, I went last year. They still were allowed. I mean, formally allowing people to do it, even if it's against the law. Anyway,
right. I'm
that's
just saying
neither
that
here nor there.
you can't do that.
We're getting. I can't have too many asides off of the main aside, which is not on the outline, which is the greatest beers. So let's. I don't want to get into festival law. Not yet. That's for another off the rails show. So that's why that is why I posed Dark Lord. I'm not saying it has to be on the list, but I'm just saying it's worthy of a consideration for that reason.
It's interesting to consider, but I would say that categorically, if it's going to be the greatest craft beer, it has to taste good. That is the law. Like, I mean,
well, a lot of people probably think it does, but okay, let's
Bourbon
move
County
on.
still tastes great.
Yeah.
It's I mean,
So wait,
especially
you
the non.
don't think Dark Lord tastes good?
No, I think Dark Lord is not. I think that in comparison, for instance, to that, it's not even close.
So that's awesome. Why do you think it tastes bad?
I can't go into that right now. I mean,
Why?
Well, just due to reasons. It's just
Due to
No,
reasons,
I mean
man.
honestly, no. I'm actually very interested because I think Dark Lord tastes terrible. So
Yeah.
I would love to hear from somebody in the beer community tell me why it's awful.
well, I mean, it's not really my style of stout for starters. I'm certainly willing to. I like more of a session stout type of presentation. Bell's Trumpeter is an excellent example.
Yeah, man. I heard that's
okay.
Someone told me that it's like, what's up with this new style? These table stouts.
So what else? What else?
It's well, so I think it's probably too bitter, and some of the ones that I've had have had off flavors in them, and
Awesome.
that is something that I'm pretty much going to throw out a beer if I'm 100% not going to drink it.
Thank you for saying that because I mean I've had a bunch of Dark Lord stuff that I think is very syrupy and very alcoholic and not very delicious.
Yeah, and the thing that's crazy to me is Three Floyds does make a ton of delicious beer consistently. Like,
Yeah.
I would say that if I were going to pick a Three Floyds beer for this list, I mean, certainly if you're going to count their three flagships as being Gumball Head, Alpha King, Zombie Dust, any one of those beers could go on this list because they're great. Well, I mean, I'm not a huge Gumball Head fan, but the other
I think
two beers
Zombie
are.
Dust is a very fine beer.
Zombie Dust is just fine, but when I think about it compared to like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, it's like Sierra Nevada Pale Ale is greater. There's no comparison. Alpha King is very good though.
I would
Alpha
dis-
King's a
I would
badass
disagree with
beer.
you,
It
but
is.
that's fine. That's personal taste. But I appreciate you saying that I appreciate that because I've always felt that Dark Lord is very overrated.
And as a I enjoy beer, but I'm not a beer guy, as Chris knows. I'm the person that comes in here and produces the show. But I'm always like
Except
very,
for tonight.
Yes, well, and other nights. But I'm always very confused by people that are going and standing in line for Dark Lord. Because I've had those beers and I'm like, this doesn't seem like a very useful use of my time.
Well, I kind of I think that most of the attitude of people who have been around a lot of beer is they're not waiting in line for stuff. Mostly it's, especially if you're at a beer festival, that there is literally so many more other options that don't require you to sit in a queue for, God knows how long. I think that I'm glad that people are willing to do it. I think it's important, but I would never, and so therefore I'm never going to Dark Lord Day. It's just one of those things. I don't like waiting in lines, and it seems just like like Chris said, it grew out of a line. It is basically a line.
Well,
So,
but I mean, you sell beer for a living, and obviously Chris does. I'm actually kind of curious about this because it seems to me that people standing in line is a good thing for your business.
it is because it means that you're doing something right. It means that it's worth people to pay that cost to.
I'm going to start
Yeah,
producing the show. I'm just going to produce it,
should.
and you guys can
You
have
should.
your little conversation.
Well,
So-
thanks, Chris.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm glad that people are willing to wait in line for beer. I'm just not one of those people, so I don't really. I think that if I was going to get a beer, if I'm at a festival, this actually happened recently, I have a certain amount that I'm willing to wait, but if it's at all possible to not wait, that is number one choice for me. So, yeah, because it is good. Sometimes you're at a festival and you have, there are a bunch of people in line. You just have to crank it out as quick as you can.
We're stepping into very important greatest beers of all time. So
Listen,
what else? Come on.
No,
I'm
actually,
ready
this
for
is
you to
actually very
fire.
interesting.
I'm ready for you to fire off another candidate for
Right.
the list. So,
Right. Let's keep going.
Well, okay. So all of the ones that I listed before were specifically flagship beers that I think that Sierra Nevada Pale Ale has to go on the list.
Oh,
Like, that's-
without a doubt. I mean,
Yeah, okay.
let's. We don't even have 10 beers yet, so we got to keep adding to the list.
that's what I'm saying.
So why don't we? So let's think. What about?
Well, I would say Heady Topper would be one that
I think
potentially
Heady
could go.
Topper.
A Heady
could go
Topper,
up
but
there.
you know that I strictly prefer Focal Banger, but
Yeah,
Heady-
but I don't think it can get on the
I know,
list
it
over
can't.
that
Oh,
because
that's
I mean,
too bad, but it's
even
true.
if only the first beer to dethrone Westy 12 from the greatest beers, when BA was still relevant and stuff like that. Sorry, Andy Crouch. I think it's worthy of getting on the list for now. We might have to knock a couple. We might have to knock it off later. What about what are some Fat Tire?
no.
Oh, okay. What about there's got to be what about Bam beer?
From Jolly Pumpkin.
Yeah, I mean the beer that maybe started one of the earliest examples of American farmhouse that is, quite popular now. This more rustic style farmhouse ale also introduced a distribution model that is still used by those breweries to this day, where you are casting a very wide net. You're not just going to your local market. You're really seeing heavy distribution compared to the size of your brewery. Those are things that Jolly Pumpkin did. Bam Beer is kind of their flagship. I don't know. I'm throwing it out there. I don't know.
I think that it's. I just don't think that there's enough Jolly Pumpkin beer out there. Period. To kind of warrant. And they do pretty much. I like all of their beers. I think they're really cool. And I think especially historically, when you're talking about using the usage of barrels, wild fermentation, all that stuff is definitely super super cool. But I don't think that works.
All right. So you need to have a San Diego beer. You need to have a San Diego IPA.
Sure.
You think that would be Stone IPA?
I like Stone IPA a lot. I was actually reading an article today about Bagby. Have you heard of these guys?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm loving what I read. The guy doesn't brew any hazy beer. He brews traditional styles, no adjuncts, and I'm just like, yes, this guy gets it. And supposedly, he's very popular out there. That actually was an article by John Hall, so who's now, I guess, freelancing or something. But
What about anything from the East Coast? Is there anything from maybe a Dogfish Head or a Victory? Or we already have Allagash. I don't think there's anything from the South, unless you wanted to throw like Kunafpoo on there as like an early, a proto pastry, something like that. In that sense, you'd have to put a creme brulee stout. What if creme brulee stout from Southern Tier made the 10 greatest beers of all time list because it started the pastry stout craze?
From Southern Tier.
No, it's not gonna. I mean, it's
What
not
about-
gonna end up
Chris, where are you going with the show?
what about
Honestly.
nowhere.
KBS? What about KBS?
KBS. No, it's too close to BCS.
What about breakfast time? I'm thinking about Founders in particular. Okay, well, I think that there's an argument for Two Hearted being on this list, and it's not my
I think
favorite.
you're right.
It's not my favorite IPA. I don't really like Centennial that much, but it is it's super important. It's just what are you going to say? It's a very important beer, and a lot of people, that's what they think of. Certainly around these parts, when they think of IPA, it's Bell's Two Hearted. So,
Okay.
what do you think?
I think that's on. I think that's on the list for sure. Yeah, I think it's on there. So we'll read the list back.
the Pliny the Elder, BCS, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, Heady Topper, Bell's Two Hearted. So that's 5. We're halfway
Wait,
there.
we
dude.
put way more.
No, we had. So I didn't put any of the other ones that are the flagship beers that exemplify the style because I don't think that we can put smoked porter as being one of the top 10 greatest. Even though
I think it is. Maybe no, that's not.
I don't think
okay.
so.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay. Well, maybe we can only do top 5 beers of all time.
Fair enough. Those are the top 5 beers of all time.
Rate it
forever.
again. Let's just.
Pliny the Elder.
Yes.
Bourbon County.
There you go.
Sierra Nevada Pale Ale.
Bang.
Heady Topper.
Bang.
Bell's Two Hearted.
That's it. Those are the only 5 beers that you need to have on your desert island. Nothing
terrible.
sour.
You have to
That's-
have.
that's awful,
you have
dude.
got to have a lager, and you have got to have
Nope.
you've got to have a wheat beer. But
Nope. No, Allagash White.
that's a
Allagash
joke.
White.
I mean,
Well, that's number 6.
Allagash White's got to be on there.
Oh yeah, Allagash
Yeah,
White. Top
so-
6 of all time.
Yeah, no.
But what about lager? What's the most important lager?
The greatest Sam Adams. I think Sam Adams has to go on there.
I would say that that's probably up there.
There's 7.
Important.
Sam Adams has to go on.
All right, let's just
Chris, can I ask you a
Anchor
question?
Steam has to go on, too.
Chris, if you're going and to have a lager, is Sam Adams your top
That's
choice?
not the question. But the thing is, in terms of the
No,
all
seriously.
of
If you're going to go drink a lager tomorrow, do you say to the bartender, "Hey, I'd like a Sam Adams"? No, it's a
it
serious
depends.
question.
You're right, and here's a serious answer: am I in an airport? Because if I am in an airport, then yes, that's what I say.
Okay, but if you're somewhere else and you say, "Hey, I'd like a lager," is Sam Adams your first choice? So why?
It all depends.
If it's
but
not,
likely not.
okay, then why are you putting it on the list?
Well, because I think I'm looking at this more in a more historic sense.
Okay, but
I don't
that's-
personally like Anchor Steam. I don't like that beer.
Oh,
I'm in the
okay.
minority there, but I don't like it.
Fine, but I mean, again, if you don't like a beer, why are you putting it on the list? I
Because-
think that the idea that you have is, well, I should put Sierra Nevada on the list. Sierra Nevada is actually a great beer. It's a great beer that tastes great today, right? But there are other beers that do not taste great today. They taste dated and they taste weak. So why would you come in and say, well, I would like to have a beer that I actually would not order today? To me, that's a
Because I think
very,
it got us here. It got us
it
here.
that's
did.
fine, but it's a very false equivalency.
So I had a Brooklyn lager yesterday, and that is a beer that it's like this tastes dated. This tastes like a beer from the '90s. And,
totally agree with you.
And
Garrett Olson's a great brewmaster.
yeah. I mean, they make good beer. I'm just saying that there is something to be said for. It's kind of like fashion. People wouldn't even think that it's like invisible until you have some perspective of a few years, and then you're like, what was even happening then? So
Yeah, but I mean, that is a balanced, delicious lager.
it's good. It's a good beer.
It's a
but
very good
not,
beer.
It does taste dated. So
However, if you taste that, just to take Brooklyn, for example, if you taste that kind of in a vacuum and you say, oh, I'm going to have no lager or I'm going to have this, it's a high quality beer, right?
I drank the whole thing. It was
Absolutely.
It's a good beer. Yeah.
But the lager that you guys are producing is better.
Thank you.
And the lager that Mars is producing is better.
I love Chug Life. I'm all over that.
Right.
'Cause
Is it better because we have a more refined idea of what a lager is, or is it because we're having those beers that are fresher?
I think part of freshness definitely makes a big difference for me. It's
a very good question, Jamie.
Lager peaks, I would
Well,
say,
thank you.
about 6 weeks after packaging. In my estimation, that's when that's my ideal lager age. But I would say that freshness certainly has a lot to do with it.
Can I also argue that Brooklyn Lager, because it's being produced in a macro brewery, it's being produced by Saranac, or I think Two Hearts down in Sanford. It is being produced on such a much major level. Their brew, their big brew, is not the same as their small brew. You guys are doing a small brew, and
Well, it's actually like a lot of our. I mean, comparatively, yes, but We have a lot of consistency even through we have, a little 3.5 barrel brew house and then a 30 barrel brew house. And
Right.
They always taste the same.
Exactly. But those guys do not.
No.
And my point is Spiteful, Mars, Hopewell, they're doing, I mean, I'm thinking of smaller people here that are doing small lagers.
All right. So let's take what you were saying, Jamie, about beers being on the list that maybe aren't contemporary. Now, I will argue that that's not really what this list in my mind is about. But what about some of the hot brewers now? Do you think there are breweries that are, the white hot breweries of today that are making beers that will be looked at 30 years down the road as, now that was a truly great and important beer in the scheme of American craft beer?
So, I mean, I was actually looking,
Let's think
I
of
was,
some. There
I was
has to
reading,
be some.
Well, here's one that a personal favorite of mine is Arthur.
I was just going to say, yeah. Anna or Arthur, yeah.
Arthur is excellent, and it is.
What about Edward?
That's the thing, is that they've got a ton of great beer, but to me, Arthur is the one. That is, I think, what it means to be a saison in America. So that one to me certainly is worth.
When I said that, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Is all right. Where's Hill Farm on this? Because I think they deserve, I think, a spot on the list. I think their beers are that good. They are hyped, and they live up to the hype. And they also, I think, started a kind of this whole beer trek mentality of making a pilgrimage to a place in the middle of nowhere to get these beers. This terroir mentality of like you have to go to the place to get it. The whole scratch thing. Like going there and see where it's made and all this stuff.
But Chris, isn't that kind of a wine thing? I mean,
no, I'm saying it's the terroir mentality. I'm not saying it's an actual terroir.
I'm just saying from a business point of view, it strikes me as very interesting that you guys are talking about the terroir and the transit to it. That is a very wine thing. And wine, in terms of the way it's sold in this country, is very based on that. And I'm confused, I guess, as not a beer guy, why people are trying to go to Scratch or Maine or Trillium to experience this stuff when beer actually is a very cheap product that should go and be sold in a number of different places. You should be able to enjoy beer in a tap room 6 or 7 hours away from something, whereas wine is a much more perishable product. So I
don't know about that.
No, I would say that, in terms of the shelf life, certainly beer is got much less shelf life.
Edward from Hill Farm is in 1 month is going to taste different than it did, when you had it there.
Why is that though? Is that the packaging or is that the
product?
I guess that's my question, because I guess I've listened to you guys for months and months talking about this stuff, and I'm a little confused about that.
I think it's definitely not packaging. I think probably in terms of packaging, beer is far in advance of any other segment of the alcohol industry. There's no doubt that beer is the most advanced in packaging, and so it's not that. It's just the nature of the product. Not a lower ABV, have more volatile compounds, especially in the hops, and it's things like that. And actually.
And there's the rapid oxidation.
And the fact that oxidation is really, unacceptable in beer. Oxidation is great in certain products. I'm a huge fan of sherry. I drink.
So you're saying the lower alcohol content of beer is a factor as well?
Certainly, yeah. Okay. Lower, yeah. So all of those things, I think, in conjunction, make beer a super perishable product. Now there are certain beers which you can lay down for. Forever, and like Chimay Blue would be a great example.
Again, so why? What differentiates a beer that you can lay down from?
Well, typically it's exactly that. It's the not having oxidation ruin the experience of the beer. And certainly for a lager, that's going to be the case, but not necessarily for a stout or a barley wine or a quad, something like that. That is going to actually kind of, in some instances, enhance and complement the overall flavor profile. So. Now, I'm not a believer in cellaring beer, really. I think that beer is generally best fresh.
I think some lambics can be beautiful old.
Definitely. And lambics are obviously a huge those are really cool.
So why are people then collecting beers, and why are people collecting?
Because they don't know any better.
Because people are acquisitive those beers are not for drinking. That's it.
This is very strange to me. You guys have talked about whales on this show for years and trading bottles and stuff, and I'm mystified. If beer does not keep well, why are people doing it?
Because it's
a
not
hobby.
It's not about the beer. It's there's something else going on there, and really,
But this is not a smart thing to do.
Well, it depends on what it is that you're trying to do. If you're trying to enjoy beer, it's a terrible idea. Like that's not how you do it.
Well, the other thing is, a lot of these beers are stable for various amounts of time, some of which could be 2 years easy. There are beers that could easily age for 2 years
Without
and
a
be
doubt.
fine.
I mean,
But what happens is your cellar, you buy all these beers for special occasions. There aren't enough special occasions out there, or the beer is too special for all but the most special of occasions, which certainly don't come around enough. And then you just have hundreds of dying beers, which is, I think, why cellaring is honestly on the decline.
Yeah, and I think that I feel the same way. I obviously have some beer, lying around in my house, and any opportunity that I have to clear that out, I do it. It's like it's a project for me. Like, drink the beer that you have, figure out a way to do it. But I definitely I think I'm more likely to hold on to cider and Perry because if I find something that's good, I want to have it around. But that's for specific occasions because I want Perry and oysters every day. It's my favorite thing to eat, my favorite pairing, and you've got to have Perry for that. And I don't want to have to go track it down every time that I need it. So it's not that to me.
Whenever, raw oysters just show up at your house.
Listen, I'm a weird guy. Things like that happen to me. I just,
This is super interesting. No, this is good. This is total knowledge that I didn't have. This is wonderful.
That's why we're here, Jamie.
It is. It's also about time for you to take a break.
I think, you got some really awesome death metal that you can just blare in
Actually,
my ear.
I don't, but I could.
All right. Well, why don't you go? Whatever you have.
All right.
Don't get death metal.
Here we go.
All right. Goodbye.
The old guy at the party tonight. Yes, I'm the old guy at the party.
Welcome back to the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable. I'm here with Wheezy McGee and Sir William Charles Moore. And so, despite what producer Jamie wants, we're going to do what we want, Will, which is come up with the 10. We changed our mind. Hold on.
Come on.
We came up with the 10 greatest. I'm backing away from we'll stop at 5. We're going all the way to 10. And if it takes us all show, which it probably will, but that's fine. It's a lost
40 minutes.
episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, what do we got, Will? How many do we have? How many openings?
we are currently at 9.
At 9?
Yeah.
What are the not?
Yeah,
What
the
are the
show's
9?
almost over.
Well, currently
Yeah.
we've got Pliny the Elder, Bourbon County Stout, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, Heady Topper, Bell's Two Hearted, Allagash White, Boston Lager, Anchor Steam, Arthur.
So wait a minute. Can we talk about Heady Topper for a second?
Sure.
So there is no such thing as a New England Pale Ale.
Well,
It didn't exist.
I mean, I don't blame The Alchemist for any of the things that have happened around hazy
Correct.
beers.
I'm just saying that I lived in New England and I never, ever saw this.
Well, maybe they
This has
happened
been a
after-
relatively
yeah,
recent,
this is recent.
development.
Right. So the idea that something is called a New England Pale Ale or a New England Hazy, I think that we should have a little corrective here on the show
I'm not
because
gonna.
it
I'm not
does
going
not
there.
exist.
I'm not going there. If people call them Nipas, they're Nipas, whether they're from New England or not.
Well, I mean,
don't
no,
care.
seriously. Wait a minute here. That's kind of crap. I mean, they don't exist.
They do exist.
Well, they don't. They were manufactured,
Yeah.
but they're calling an entire beer style a New England Hazy or a New England Pale Ale. Is,
Well, the New England thing has
kind
been
of-
dropped, but there's yeah. But I mean,
Come on.
they became popular first in that area. Boston, Massachusetts.
Well, no, they didn't. I mean, actually, none of us in bars in New England ever saw these things.
But they
were-
happened since you left, man. These are new.
Dude, they didn't. They were never served in bars. Like, I would go to a bar in Rhode Island to
Yeah,
visit
but
my
you're talking
parents.
about 1954 here. I'm
No,
talking about
dude.
2010.
Dude, I was in bars with,
Well, that's the other thing.
I never actually saw these things poured.
These were also
This
on
is-
premise. That's the other part
Okay,
of it.
so this is what's killing me here. Like, the idea that there was a New England Pale Ale is killing me two ways. First of all, nobody in New England ever heard about this. I'm sorry, it's true.
Sure.
And if I went to a bar in New England, which I did multiple times, small town bars, which is where my parents live, if I said, hey, can I get a hazy IPA? They'd be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. Well,
Can I get a New England IPA? Sure, here's a Coors.
Right.
I mean, like,
yeah, but when you unsaddled your dinosaur and walked into that bar, it was different. Now, when you go in there, they'll say, if you go into that same bar
Oh, really?
right now,
Oh, really?
I bet you
I guarantee you, Chris, I'm willing to bet you a lot of money that's not true.
that they wouldn't know what it is.
Yes.
Okay.
I'll bet you $100 right now on the air.
If you went into where is this bar?
I'll go into Johnson, Rhode Island, or Willamette, Connecticut, or Hartford, Connecticut, or
Yeah. Hartford, Connecticut. Fine.
okay.
You go in there,
$100.
but what's the bet?
I said $100. They will not know what it is.
Who won't?
the bartender.
If you say I want a New England style IPA,
Yes.
man,
$100 right now.
what bar?
Any bar. I'll walk
Any
in-
bar.
I'll walk
I
in
pick
any
the
bar.
bar.
Sure.
I'll take that bet.
All right.
All right, there we
You lose.
go. All right. It's already been decided. I've lost. I owe him $100. But so we got one more open, right? One more spot open. We don't have any sour beers, which I don't know if that needs to be corrected or not. We don't have any San Diego beers, right?
It doesn't appear so.
No San Diego beers, I think, is a glaring, a potential, weakness that somebody could. It's a vulnerability to the tightness of our list. The water tightness.
Yeah. So
Beer tightness.
what's the proposal here? We also don't have any Colorado beers.
Yes, we do, don't we?
No.
I thought you had Odell in there. No?
No,
No,
he
that
was.
was before.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Uh-huh. Yeah.
So let's think of a San
terrible
Diego
list.
beer and a Colorado beer, and then maybe one of those maybe one of those places isn't represented, and
Well, I would, going back to the discussion about sour beer, I would argue that with with potentially the exception of some of the Russian River stuff,
Yeah.
La Folie from New Belgium is the sour. If we're going to have a sour on there, that's got to be the most important one.
it could also be if you go Lost Abbey, you're doing San Diego and sour. But I think you're right. I think La Folie is the American sour beer to put on that list.
I just find it
Personally,
I agree. I agree. I think
let's
with La-
pencil it in.
All right.
Pencil it in.
Wait. Can I just say one thing? How many people that you know actually want to have an American sour
Compared to what?
compared to everybody else that wants to drink beer?
I mean, where are we? Are we in Hartford?
I would say
Where nobody knows what a NEPA is?
I actually am a very big sour beer fan. I love Belgian sours, but everybody that I meet does not want to have American sours because they're too sour.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of that. I would say that it's probably in the single digits percentage of people that actually are interested in drinking sour beers. And
Single
the
digits
connoisseurs,
of
the
craft beer
connoisseurs,
drinkers.
Thank you.
right, the connoisseurs are going to go for lambics because it's
Right.
just there's no comparison.
Thank you. Thank you for being honest. So, unlike Chris, who is not honest about what percentage of beers are being drunk, especially in Connecticut, in New England, you could probably put a sour beer on there over a New England IPA.
Potentially. So, that's the one that I think is, a front runner in thinking about.
That would be insanity to listen to Jamie
No, it
and
wouldn't be. It would
take
be,
a
be
hazy
insanity.
IPA and and substitute it for a sour. And
Look.
No
that
way.
is the insanity in terms of sales for you guys, because
no,
hazy
global
IPAs,
reach.
Well, I mean,
Craft beer around the world right now, they're
Is
making
hazy.
hazy, man. And it started in America. That is,
Well, we all
I would like to point out that all of this started in America, and
Right.
the fact that everyone wants their own craft beer, and in Spain, in Peru, in wherever you go, it's definitely something that started here, and it's I think it's a good trend. I think that hazy pale ales are a fad, and I think that everyone will make fun of us.
shots
In
fired.
Thank you.
in 10 years, everyone will be like, "Look at what these idiots were drinking and making. This makes no sense." Or it could be that.
Except in Hartford,
Or-
they'll just be getting on to it.
Of course,
wait.
Hartford's a few. They're a few
mean,
years behind.
Just getting turned on.
most beers were actually hazy though before they were clarified, right?
I mean, I would say that it just depends on where you go. Certainly, if
What
you're
point in time you're
Germany,
talking about?
If you're in Germany and you've got a hazy lager that's not intended to be hazy, that's a problem.
Right.
And same thing in England. You want to have
Right.
you wanna
But
have
there
clear-
are some intentional hazy beers.
Absolutely, Hefeweizen's a great example.
Right.
With beer, there are hazy beers, and
Right.
yeah, but
So-
it's not like it is now. It's just
Right.
different.
So my point is, though, there are some legacy hazy beers. It's not like some beers today that are had flour dumped in or having all kinds of adjuncts dumped in to make them hazy.
Well, I don't want to comment on practices that I'm not familiar with, but I've heard of things.
Yes. So you would never do something like that. That's spiteful.
Currently, we haven't.
Right. Other breweries, obviously, that we have talked to on the show have.
That is true. I think most brewers have, because they essentially, IPAs.
I'm going to walk that back. I don't agree that most
Well,
have
hold
added
on a second.
flour to their beer.
A
No.
number-
Most of
that's what
them
I'm
is
saying.
have
I'm just
attempted
saying.
to foray into the hazy beer category.
Oh, I see.
Right,
what
right.
you're
That's
So-
what I'm saying.
Yes, exactly. So the hazy
What about
beer thing.
Diggable?
The hazy
Diggable
beer
is not
thing
a hazy
is
IPA. Since
very.
we just made it. It's clear, 100% clear.
It's very, very trendy, right? Right?
Yeah, I mean that's
Super trendy, right? You guys are selling a S ton of hazy beers, right?
I
I
mean,
mean, you Americans, yes.
Yes. So, but this is a style that did not exist 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Let's go. Yeah, I mean, it
Well-
was much, much smaller that way.
Right.
for sure.
Okay. So this is something that was pinned on New England as a style that did not exist there. A couple breweries there started to do a hazy, very hopped.
Who cares? Moving on. I don't care. I won't call it New England.
Hold on a second. My point
don't
is,
care.
my point is that this is a new thing
Yeah.
that breweries here have capitalized on, which is amazing. I mean, this is a new trend that somebody hadn't thought of a couple of years ago. It's a beautiful thing, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, it's taken
It's
over
a
the world.
It's a big money thing, but it's very faddish. Is that a legitimate style, however? Is that a legitimate thing that you're going to look at as a brewer a couple years from now and say, oh, I really want to hang my hat on that. I really wanted to do this. I really wanted to be this kind of style. Or are you going to say as a brewer, oh, I really wanted to make a nice Hellas. I wanted to make a nice...
Well, we'll just see. We'll see who's, I think that chasing fads is a mistake. We're not making any hazy beer. We are making an alt beer. We are making things that are actually we have done
So
some things that are a
you,
little more-
in terms of your style, I mean, I think it's very interesting. You're saying like, we are making actually. You don't want to do this. Why is that?
I think that it's a mistake to look. There are so many great beer styles. There are so many.
All right, I said I could veto before. I don't
do
care
it.
about this conversation.
Really?
We got
Let's
to
go.
I actually
Let's go.
do
I'm-
care about this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm
honestly.
ready to finish
Yeah,
this
see,
list.
Will wants to finish the list. Let's
finish
do the
list.
friggin' list.
This is our one thing.
I
that we're
veto.
gonna
I
do.
said I could veto. I'm
Oh,
vetoing the
I
conversation.
I
let's-
actually really am interested in
let's
this stuff.
Well,
get
we can get to it after.
San
All right.
Diego beer. We are on San Diego beer. That has to be on here. We have to have a candidate at least.
I do think that San Diego is a very important brewing city.
I agree.
So but man, I don't know. You got Pizza Port. You got
That's it. So I'm, do we
AleSmith,
go port?
Stone.
Do we go Stone? I've got, because I feel like with Stone, your options are IPA, or
Arrogant Bastard.
Arrogant Bastard.
I don't know if either of them deserve it.
I agree.
I don't think Sculpin can quite get there either.
Sculpin used to be so good also. And I mean, in terms of Pliny was the one that everyone, years ago was going after. It was
Like
the same
Pizza
thing.
Port, maybe, but I don't think so.
Well, so maybe I just don't know enough about San Diego beer, but I think that anything that's
Green Flash, I don't think.
Green Flash is, I thought about that as well, but they're not.
I mean, it doesn't matter if they're dead. It still could be on the list.
Yeah, but I just can't think of a beer that's super iconic that came out of San Diego.
I mean, it's crazy that that's where West Coast beers really kind of started from.
no doubt.
They're not going to be on the list, but maybe they're just not on the list. I can't think of one that I would put on there. Maybe we're missing one. I
Well,
wouldn't
okay.
put it past us.
So let's, in terms of Southern California stuff, we're looking at Lost Abbey. What's your suggestion there? Because I mean, what like Red
Nothing.
Barn's there?
No,
flagship.
yeah, no, I don't know. It doesn't need to be a flagship.
I know it doesn't need
I
to be
wouldn't
a
put.
flagship.
I
but-
wouldn't put like Duck Duck Goose. I wouldn't put Cable Car. I wouldn't put Red Poppy. I wouldn't put any of those beers on there. I wouldn't put Angel Share. I can't think of any of their standard. I mean, I would if it was Lost Abbey, I'd probably go on the port side, and I would do a pale ale. But I can't think of something. So I think Lawfully is the one. So that makes it 10. What are those 10?
What's that?
Read the 10.
All right, yet again, Pliny the Elder, Bourbon County Stout, Sierra Nevada Pale Ale, Heady Topper, Bell's Two Hearted, Allagash White, Boston Lager, Anchor Steam, Arthur from
Yeah.
those guys, and New Belgium Lafayette.
So I think the only one to me that I would take off for personal reasons, but I think it has to be on there, would be Anchor Steam. But I think it's a lock. It's a lock.
And
It
I think
has
that
to
I
be
would
in
probably do it, and I would probably put Boston Lager in there personally. But again, it has to be on there because it is extremely important. And so, in terms of greatest beers, which you can define however you want, I think it's got to go on there.
There you go. That's it. I've made up my mind.
Well, there you go.
Those are the
show's
10
over.
greatest.
Yep,
yeah.
the show's over.
Well, we can get to our first topic now, is what I'm saying, which is, ironically, it's about the nomenclature New England IPA. Ironically. No, I'm kidding. So we've come up with the 10 greatest beers in American history, so that's good. So let's now. What do you think about this? Talk about fads. What do you think about the non-alcoholic or alcoholic seltzer thing? Or is that too much of a pivot? Can we go right into that?
No, yeah, totally. So I think it's legit. I think that non-alcoholic beer is going to be something that is going to be a small percentage of the market, and the people that are going to specialize in that will probably do stuff that's pretty good. It does serve a function. I think that I would much rather see athletes pounding non-alcoholic Hefeweizen than Gatorade on the sidelines. That's what they do in Germany. So I have no problem with that. And in terms of the seltzer, I feel like that people they want the booze and they don't want the calories. So I think that it probably will be some portion of. I don't think it's going to disrupt much, but I definitely think that there's.
So here's what I'm
that.
thinking then. Two things. One, I want to talk about the differences between the two. The drinkers. Do you think they're the same type of people are going to be drinking both of those things? And then I think before the show is over, we have to come up with a for each category, a 10 greatest non-alcoholic beers of all time and a 10 greatest alcoholic seltzers of all
They're
time.
extremely long.
Zima.
There's no way it's going to take us forever. There's so many to choose from.
There's
Come
so
on,
many
come on,
greats.
Chris.
All the greats are going to be represented.
There's no doubt that we have to get all the greats on there, but which ones are we going to choose?
I don't know. You
Somebody's
know
gonna
what?
get
We have to
cut.
just postpone that part of the discussion.
that's
So for now, so non-alcoholic beer, huge in Europe right now. Huge.
Is it?
I think
It's not really huge, is it?
in England, I think it's up to something like astounding, like 10%.
That's crazy.
That's
and they're letting real ale die.
yeah,
Shame
that's
on you,
kinda
England.
weird.
Get it together.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, they like to drink a lot of beer in England. I mean, they like quantity wise, they just pound beer.
Not as much as the Czechs. They do prefer the low ABV stuff. but-
The English do drink. Yeah.
They drink. I'm fine. Maybe not the most in the world, but they drink a lot. And the style of drinking, I mean, the Russians drink a lot too, but they just get sauced on vodka and stuff like that. But I'm talking about, beer drinking culture, non-alcoholic beer. I think that I personally think the crowd that's going to be drinking non-alcoholic beer and alcoholic seltzer are two very different
100%.
groups.
Those are not. There's not going to be a ton of overlap there because it's literally empty calories, whereas the other one is the opposite. I think that the reason why the seltzer thing is literally people don't want anything except the alcohol and maybe a little flavor. That's it. So, and the people that are drinking non-alcoholic beer, obviously, the only thing they're looking for is flavor and refreshment, and they don't care about the alcohol, which is, I guess it has its place, but.
Right. So non-alcoholic beer, is it a craft product? I mean, how do you have to remove the alcohol?
You filter it. So,
Right.
yeah, it's definitely, it's a craft product. If you make a craft beer and you take out the alcohol, I would say it's still a craft product. And in terms of the seltzer, this is something that the BA has come out and said that if you are a company that produces alcoholic seltzer as well as beer, you don't get your craft card taken away. You're not excluded from the club.
Well, that's because of heavy Boston beer lobbying,
well,
I'm sure.
No doubt. But there's also, they're not the only ones.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of people are going to get involved in that particular,
Oh, I mean, they're getting involved. I mean, they're jumping onto any. I mean, I don't want it to. Some of them feel like they are rats on a sinking ship.
Well,
because they are jumping to absolutely anything they think they can get traction on, which, hey, maybe they should. That's what maybe some would say is what a good business would do. I would say it's what it reeks of desperation.
When you say they,
lacks authenticity.
When you say they, who are you referring to?
They, in which I've said a lot of theys.
Well,
they criticizing or they actually doing it.
The people who are making this stuff, when you say they, are like it seems like it's a particular class of brewer that you're referring to.
Yes. I would say large regionals and above.
Right, and those are the people that I think are under the most pressure to continue to grow at a rate that really, at this point, I don't think the market's going to bear. There are still drinkers out there that don't drink craft beer. We didn't hit 20%, which was the goal by 2020. That's just not going
even
to happen.
close.
It's not. Yeah. Well, I mean, part of it had to do with the way that it was defined and losing a couple of big players. But regardless, there are a ton of craft drinkers, and I just don't think they're going to get converted. Unfortunately, that's the way that it is. So no.
Yeah. So for me, that's kind of what I was getting at. I think this alcoholic seltzer thing is.
Well, potentially it's targeting outside that. The craft.
I think it totally is.
Yeah.
I mean, have you tasted any of these things?
Why would I do that?
Just to see what they taste like. Have you even tasted them?
No, I've tasted non-alcoholic beer, but
I haven't tasted any of the new. Maybe I've had one newfangled non-alcoholic beer. I think Harlan's distributing one. But I have had one. I think only one alcoholic seltzer. It tastes like a LaCroix. Maybe a slightly worse LaCroix with vodka dumped into it, which I guess for convenience might be nice, just so you don't have to
Dump
have a
vodka
bottle.
into
Yeah,
your
dump
LaCroix, yeah.
vodka into your LaCroix, or if you're going to a show, or if you're at a venue, or if you're camping. I don't. I mean, hey, man. I guess it's huge. It's the big thing, man. But
The rules still are it has to taste good. If it doesn't
That's
taste
the
good,
number one drink.
that's not a rule.
It is the number one
That-
drink people order here at the Copro.
booch.
No,
Get your
seriously.
booch.
LaCroix with vodka.
Really?
The number one drink.
Are you serious?
No toe.
Wow.
There you go.
Well, maybe, but again, that to me says that they don't have any chance of
How do they order it? Say, can I have a LaCroix and vodka?
Yes.
who. This is
Yeah,
disturbing me.
Generally, like 5 out of 10. No
Vodka
question.
soda.
Vodka soda. Yep.
Is that they ordered it as a vodka soda or
Nope.
LaCroix?
They order it as something with LaCroix.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Very interesting. So I think that is a different type of drinker who wants to have the effects of the drug as efficiently as possible and with and I think caloric wise, I think it's a very health conscious, unhealthy way, unhealthy thing to do in the most health conscious way, perhaps, maybe. I don't know. Obviously, it's not something that I've ever. I mean, vodka sodas and vodka tonics are like just. I always thought of them as just why, but that's just how It's as garbage, as garbage that you just have a shot of vodka. Like, let's just say what you want. You want a shot of vodka, but you cannot. I don't want to say,
but it's
you can't, put on your big boy pants and taste. Oh, I don't like the flavor of this.
Yeah, but Chris,
so I have to mask it with.
It's a congenial mixer. It's something to have over ice. You're sipping it. You're having fun with your friends.
Yeah, sure. No, I mean you can come up with very logical reasons, but that doesn't work for my cantankerous nature.
But what's your point? Well, I mean, why?
My point is I don't like it. That's all.
Okay, but I mean, how does that have to do with your drinking habits are different? So why is that
Bad.
Yeah.
Right. I don't like it. That's all. It's not bad.
I think
It sounds like you're condemning it, which is very strange to me.
Condemning it. No. I mean, go do it if you want. I just don't like it. They probably think they can say that big stouts or big IPAs are garbage and you hate them. That's fine. Go have your vodka soda.
Well, I
you
don't
can. You know
actually-
what? You can serve it with a side of cellophane wrapped cheese.
I don't think
if you
I've-
like that, that's great too.
I don't think
like
I've
that.
ever had anybody come up to me and say, "Hey, I would like a vodka and LaCroix," and say, "By the way, I really, really despise IPAs." No one's ever said that.
Has anyone ever said, "I'd like an IPA"? By the way, I really despise LaCroix and vodka.
That's also never happened. However, I have had people come up and order drinks and say,
So-
"By the way, that Chris Quinn guy is a schmuck."
Yeah. Well,
That's happened.
well,
now
maybe
that-
that's it. The craft drinkers are all just snobs, but I think that it's a fundamentally
I
different.
definitely am.
Yeah, well, it's a fundamentally different practice. If you're looking to enjoy what you're drinking while you're drinking, it's different than I will have one alcohol, please. That's a different. They're engaged in a different game.
Well, I mean, I is that, or is that snobbishness, or is that like somebody that's saying, I would like to have a drink that I enjoy, and I'm going to enjoy the flavor of that drink? Is that different so much than somebody saying, I'm going to have a craft beer and I'm feeling superior about it because I believe the taste is superior?
fair question.
Well, I mean, that's my point. Is that it's I think that in the case of the vodka soda drinker, there's not as much just a hatred of the other group. They're not really thinking about craft beer drinkers, whereas craft beer drinkers are definitely thinking these people are Philistines and they're somehow ruining it for the rest of us. So
And I would say,
Yeah, and
I mean,
that's
let me
kinda
suppose
crappy.
this is what I like to do. Well, I mean, it's just we're getting the same way place different ways. You know, some people like to drive big SUVs. Other people like to drive hybrids. Other people like to drive sports cars. Other people like to drive motorcycles. And some people think that SUVs are stupid, you know, and that's fine. But I will say that to people who like really enjoy craft beer and love craft beer, if you could give them a non-alcoholic, if they were going to have alcohol and could also have the same flavor in a non-alcoholic craft beer, I think they would say, no, I want the craft beer with alcohol. That's how I want to consume that. Versus vodka soda, they would say, you can literally have this flavorless drop on your tongue. You'll get the exact same effect. Do you also want soda that tastes exactly like vodka's in it, but it's non-alcoholic? They'd say, heck no. So that's
Really,
kind of,
I mean, is that
that's my guess.
That's your guess.
I
That's not
think
a
Non-alcoholic flavored vodka sodas
okay, but I
would
mean
not do well.
That's not a
That's all I'm saying.
all right. You actually haven't proven this.
Well, I think that
That's my guess. I
Okay,
said. I
I'm
said
just
my
saying.
guess.
I'm just saying.
this is definitely something that I don't think we can, resolve for certain right now. But
Oh,
I
we
do.
can. Yeah,
Okay,
no
it's
joking.
already been resolved.
Yeah, we
did
can.
it.
Chris is right. I'm wrong.
I think that because drinking is social, if you don't care about drinks, you just get whatever is the most neutral. Because this is essentially what people are still engaging in. I guarantee you that they're not. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think that they're just drinking vodka and soda at their house, or like sitting around by themselves, like, "Oh my God, vodka soda!"
Right.
Give me another.
That is true.
Whereas
No, I agree.
so I would say that it's just it's a different mindset completely. And look, beer is intimidating. There's a lot of beer out there. You have to know a lot, and it's not merely with beer. It's all booze.
Wine.
Yeah,
and
it's crazy. Even you
lot of
get into a
spirits,
single and you get into a single category, and it's deep as you can possibly go.
Some people
And
just
so
don't
figuring-
care.
Exactly. They're like not wasting any mental energy there. Like going to just drink the easiest 1 unit of alcohol, please. So
Yeah.
that is a different mindset. It evidently means that some of them, at least, think that they have better things to think about other than what they are putting into their body, which is wrong. But I respect their opinion.
Yeah. I mean, the funny thing is, there's all this stuff about farm-to-table, high-quality foods, knowing where your food comes from, not having all these manufactured processed foods and stuff like that. And then you have a knockoff La Croix and vodka, and that's the way to go. It's so counter to all that stuff, too. I'm a snob about a lot of things. Let's just be clear. I'm a snob about a lot of things. But then, to your point, Will, I'm sure there's a ton of things that people are snobs about that I'm like, nah, don't want to spend any energy on that. I'll take the, most, to use your term, Philistine example of what that is. Like, don't care, just want this.
Yeah, and I think that it's partially. I mean, I think fashion's a great example. I literally don't care. I want something comfortable, and I wish that I had the same outfit that I could wear every day, because then I wouldn't have to.
Karl
spend,
Lagerfeld it, just
like, I
same
just-
outfit all the time. Steve Jobs,
very Richie Rich.
Yeah, I just don't. I don't like wasting any mental energy on that. And every time I think about it, it just annoys me. If I think about going shopping for clothes, it really annoys me, which is why I generally wear brewery swag and whatever. All the time. But I think that that's a perfect example. There are people that very much care about that, and I just think they're idiots in doing it wrong. But that's
I don't think
not-
they're idiots or doing it wrong. I just don't want to spend time on that right now.
Exactly, and maybe that's I feel like that I would be more inclined to my own position, as we all are. It's the fact that this is my attitude means that I think that it's justifiable. So I mean that it means that I think
And
they're
now,
potentially wrong.
outside, here's the third type of drinker, right? So there's the there's the person who potentially, like, this is my preferred way of consuming alcohol for whatever reason, for taste or flavor, or I enjoy it. This is the way I enjoy alcohol most. Let's just put it that way. And then there's also the person, and it could be a craft beer drinker or a vodka soda drinker or something else who does it because they feel that is what they should be doing. The guy who, let's just say, so do people in, honky tonks in the country, do they really like Busch more? Does that beer taste better to them than people who are in a metropolitan area where, they don't drink that beer, or don't drink that alcohol? Is to people in LA and New York find cocktails, does it taste better to them? No, it's a social, cultural thing that you want to kind of also fit into as well. So there's that element of it too.
Yeah, and I think that people ought to enjoy whatever it is that they're drinking, and I think that part of the impetus from this side of the drinking spectrum is like, you should drink more stuff. You should drink other things. You should expand, and you should know about stuff, and you should, have an opinion that is not one that's based in ignorance. And that's, I think, an argument that you can give, but is probably going to fall on a lot of deaf ears, as I'm sure it is. I'm sure that everyone knows that craft beer exists at this point. It's not like oh, that's really weird. I didn't know that people made beer. I thought it was just all, there's a part in Pete Brown's book where he talks about, like, you survey English people about what beer is made out of, and they say chemicals. They literally don't know what beer is made out of, because they did an ad campaign where they showed a field of barley, and all of the British people said, I don't want barley in my beer. And it was like, well, what do you think beer is? And they just literally, that level of it's an astounding level of ignorance, and that's really what most people, that's the level that they're at. So
right,
I would, yeah.
Like, they don't know, which is also fine. People don't know what vodka's made from. They, but they don't know that. Like, they don't know what it is.
I do, actually. It's made from gasoline, right?
Yeah, it's made from gasoline and whale tears. And
ooh, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Ooh, it makes it much more attractive.
But at the same point, but they don't know the difference between fermented versus distilled spirit or products and stuff like that, which is fine. I mean, that is probably for the best. I mean, people don't need to necessarily. They can spend their time on other stuff. But, I think
back episodes of Friends.
Right. Perfect example.
Yes.
A piece of garbage show that you're then going to watch a back episode of.
Yeah.
Go for it.
The episode where Ross is with Jen. The episode where Jen kills Ross.
Right. The episode where who's I don't even know the names of the people. Chandler, that's one of them. And Joey. Oh, I know everyone, right? Isn't Joey one of them? Never seen an episode of Friends in my life. There you go.
I think that part of it has to do with the more different stuff you experience, the more you learn about yourself. And so all those people that aren't doing that are content in that level of ignorance, because you are learning your own preference. You are learning about how things make you feel, about what you like, and you're not going to know if you don't try stuff. And
but for some people, food and drink is nothing more than fuel. Yeah. And you want the most efficient and healthy fuel that you can do, and anything outside of that is detrimental, and that's just what you want to do, and that's how they enjoy living.
How to cook.
Well, that's definitely true. I think that I'm with the old French gastronome that said that it's what fundamentally separates us from animals is that animals feed in order to fuel themselves, whereas we are basically designed to enjoy the pleasures of the table, which encompass all sorts of consumable stuff, food and beverage. And so if that's your attitude, you are less human. That's kind of what I.
But then you don't look ripped on the gram.
Oh, I forgot about ripped on the gram.
Right.
Yeah,
so now who looks
you're
foolish?
You're not going to look ripped on the gram.
Are you actually ripped on the gram, Chris?
Well, there's a new filter There's a new Ripped filter that puts a 6-pack on you.
Okay.
I accidentally put it over my face, so my face is yoked.
I did notice
On
you
my
have a
latest
couple
selfie.
extra chins there.
Yeah, and you can see all the striations
Of your face.
of my face, and yeah, I've got a 6-pack on my face, and
see.
it's awesome.
So, Chris, you only have a couple of minutes left.
Yeah.
So maybe you want to,
Give some shout outs.
yeah. Yeah.
I'm gonna give a shout out to producer Jamie.
Why?
I don't know, just for holding it down on this. I almost said Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving, yeah.
Yeah,
We should
Valentine's
we should
Day.
actually give a shout out to producer Sergio, who is out with his lovely partner tonight on Valentine's Day, which is why I'm here.
Oh,
But
well,
he's
thanks to both
a
of you.
wonderful guy. So
He is a very wonderful guy. I want to thank Sir William Charles Moore on being knighted a second time in a second country. He can now add Moldova to the list of countries he's been knighted in. Moldova, sorry.
congratulations.
Yeah, so congrats on that. I'm not going to call you sir. I'm just going to say it once still. But thanks for coming on. And I want to thank everyone else out there. Hey, you know what? Don't necessarily send an email about this particular episode because I think I know what you'll have to say. But if you have any questions, anything you want us to tackle, or any comments, feedback at all, you can send those to insiders@craftbeertemple.com.
What's wrong with this particular episode, Chris?
I don't want to get into it. It's fine. Come on. It's the greatest episode ever.
It probably is.
Will, anything?
What?
Anything for you that you would like to say in closing?
No, I have no final words.
Any interest in getting some fried shrimp after this?
Chris, this was a good episode, dude.
I could go for fried shrimp. I
Okay.
could also go for a Czech dark lager. You know where to get one of those?
Oh, yeah, we could probably find both
in
of
the back
those.
room. Yeah.
Probably get some of that.
This was a good episode, though.
I'm glad you think
It
so.
was, yeah.
It's fine. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, there
Let's-
you go.
I mean, I am like dangerously tired,
Yeah, me too.
so
Yeah.
that's okay.
You ready?
I'm ready. Let's get
say
out
it.
of here,
All
and
right.
we'll see you guys all next week with more of the Beer Temple Insiders Roundtable.
Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again. Remember this is what we wanted. Remember this is what we said. To never be heard or seen from again.
Thank you.